Hey Misplayers, it's Keith here at Slight Misplay. Today we're going to do a session recap of one of my two long-running Curse of Strahd campaigns for Dungeons & Dragons, 5th edition. This has been going on for a long time. This is, I think, the first campaign I started running. When I started running 5th edition, I ran it with a homebrew intro mini campaign that brought the characters up to about 3rd level. I didn't want to do Death House for them. I'm going to drop you right in here, right where they are. And if folks are interested, I'm happy to go back and recap some of the highlights from the campaign. It's been going on for a long time. So let's just get to it. So for this, we used Roll20. We can't meet face-to-face right now, obviously. So it worked pretty well. Not a lot of technical issues. The module on Roll20 for Curse of Strahd is pretty phenomenal. All the information's there. Dynamic lighting actually worked for the most part for this. We did have one player who had some issues, and I think we ended up having to drop the dynamic lighting, or else we at least talked about it. I can't remember if we actually did. But for the most part, it worked pretty well. We have a paladin with the sun sword. We had the lighting set up for that as a light source going throughout the Amber Temple. Most of the characters had everything uploaded into Roll20, which was really nice. Folks were able to just click on whatever ability they wanted to use, get an instant die roll, get instant damage rolls. It was pretty handy for everybody. I think everybody was happy with it, and not a lot of connection issues, which was great. Let's me focus on just running the game instead of us just try and everybody else focus on role playing and problem solving things in game, which is phenomenal. I do miss setting up gigantic Dwarven Forge builds for Amber Temple. At some point, what I would like to do again is set them up on the table here, take some top-down screenshots of it and upload those as maps, and maybe add some dynamic lighting to those as well, because that's just, it's fun for me, it's evocative for the players, it's something different that they're not seeing, it's not just a flat map. You can do a lot with that, so I'll see if I can have a chance to do that next time. So the session itself started off well. There was a lot of playing around. These guys are right in the midst of the Amber Temple right now. They have gone through, they've fought and defeated an Amber Golem. Oh, there's going to be spoilers here, in case you haven't noticed already. They fought and defeated an Amber Golem. They have fought plenty of Flame Skulls. They've barricaded themselves in a room and taken a long rest. And they're trying to figure out where to go now to find what they're looking for, which is the Holy Symbol of Ravenkind, one of the 4 artifacts. I mix up, so yeah, I think it's the Holy Symbol or the Icon of Ravenkind. I can't remember which one it is, but one of the 4 big things they need to get for their quest to defeat Strahd and escape Barovia, Ravenloft, right? That's why we're here. So they're in the Amber Temple. They're pretty scared of the main room because the last time they went into the big main room with this gigantic faceless statue, they got spanked. They walked in and it was like a Vietnam sniper situation with flame skulls shooting magic missiles and fireballs, and I think even one character had a finger of death cast on him. They were trying different kinds of outside of the box solutions to try to offer a book they had found to the statue to try to stop this from happening. That didn't work. I think I had lured them in with an illusory chest to see if they would be foolish enough to just walk in and say, "Ooh, something shiny here," and they did. And I was amazed that worked, but they did, and that it was a complete disaster for them. So they were running out of that room on fire and screaming, not wanting to go back. They'd also done a lot of investigation on the lower level of the temple, and they'd found a bunch of the amber sarcophagi, and those rooms really terrified them. Everybody role played it really, really well. The paladin, I think, got knocked unconscious and slightly out of his mind and kept repeating. What was he saying? Oh, he was repeating something, and it was really, really cool. It was go leave or something like that, or plays bad. It was I'll remember it. I'm sure he'll tell me what it was. I'll catch up next time. But it was pretty hilarious, and he called that back this session as well. So these guys were hurting. They've just rested. They're trying to figure out what to do next. They spent a lot of time trying to plan out how they were going to get over a balcony to get to this other room on the other side of the main corridor. If you're familiar with the map, and the map with me. If you're familiar with the map of the Ember Temple, if you're a DM, you kind of know where this is. And they spent a lot of time trying to figure out how they were going to get through this room because they were terrified of this room. They talked about, I think, a rope line from one door to another, just across this little tiny balcony, about 30 feet, I think. They talked about trying to have Basilica, who we have as a player character. Basilica, sorry. We call her Basilica because I misread it once and I like the way it sounds. They talked about having her use her golem strength to rip off one of the amber doors and use it as a shield, which I think she had done once before, which is pretty amazing. She's terrified of fire, so she definitely does not want any part of any fireballs or flame skulls that are going on. Doesn't even like it when people have torches around her, which is great. But they did so much planning at the beginning of this and I didn't have anything in mind for something that was going to happen in this room. I really was just like, well, I'll make it sound a little creepy, but then I'll just let them walk right through it. I was kind of really tempted to just add some additional danger in there, just to kind of pay off their efforts and make it seem like it. But at the same time, I knew that that's not really where the meat of this session was going to go. This was going to be more of an exploration, and there were going to be plenty more rooms with danger that I had already looked at that they could explore. So I didn't really do much about that, but I let them sweat it a little bit. And I think ultimately they kind of scrapped most of their plans and just kind of said, okay, screw it, we're just going to run across the balcony. So I probably missed an opportunity to do a little bit of minor punishment there. But I think that was just when we were getting into our groove as well. So I wanted to kind of keep that momentum going. So they went across. They found a room that was kind of wrecked. They did some nice exploration. They're trying to figure out, what caused this destruction. Was it natural? Was it unnatural? I let them figure that out, that there was an earthquake a long time ago. And something weird happened here. Like they went into a side room and they checked the door they did one of these things that I see a lot happen, is that players kind of get tired and characters kind of get tired of like searching for traps and searching for secret doors every time. And that happened. Like they saw a door, they checked it for traps, they went inside an alcove, they checked that for traps, and they checked that for secret doors, but they didn't find anything. And they kind of were like, well, I guess there's nothing here. But that was the second room they had gone in. They didn't actually check the first room for secret doors. So I kind of had to, I wanted to give them something. And if they were going to go down this road, they spent so much time planning on just how to get here. I didn't know if there was going to be a lot of meat at the end of this hook, but I wanted to give them something. So I had the ranger, and he's his player, wasn't feeling great, and I wanted to give him something because he doesn't speak up a lot during sessions sometimes. So I wanted to make sure that his character had a little moment to shine. So I had him kind of roll a perception, and okay, he made it. And so he was kind of staring at this section of wall that he could tell was not right. That was probably had a secret door behind it. Problem with that was I think he either had a sore throat and didn't really want to say anything out loud, or I didn't see it in the chat. I don't think he even said anything about it. Or didn't really kind of take that lead. And so the other characters kind of jumped on it. The other players kind of jumped in and said, like, okay, we see him looking at the wall, and, can we see what he's looking at? And they kind of, we played it well. They played it up kind of for comedy. It's like, oh, I think there's a secret door here, after watching a guy stare at a wall for like 15 minutes. So they found the secret door. They descended to the lower level on the east side of the Amber Temple. They get this smell of death. They are going into yet another one of these rooms that have the amber sarcophagi in it. And these rooms, they're really neat. And when I first saw them, I thought, how am I going to play this up? The first time we did it, we had the whole one of the characters had gone through. The cleric had gone through, and then the door had shut behind him. And when he did that, he started hearing the voices, and he started hearing the whispers of the vestiges of evil. And he started, just getting a huge sense of what what horrible things were here that were even possibly worse than Strahd, anything he had ever imagined. And he knew that something absolutely awful was going on there. I think it was that character. It may have been another character, actually, now that I think about it. It was a while ago. So this is the first time we had met after 8 months, because we hadn't met since before COVID started, and even before that, it's difficult to schedule because everybody is an adult, and I think 90% of this group has kids. So we were also down a few players from our, the initial group that started off, but the groups go on. So, anyways, they're in the amber. This amber sarcophagi chamber, and this is a chamber that has these crawling ghasts, these spider climbing ghasts that are running around the walls and trying to eat at people. The party's pretty big. There are 5 PCs plus some NPCs. They had gathered one of the barbarians from the beginning of the Amber Temple for this. So she's been a big asset. She's actually the only one that has survived after the big fireball fiasco of all of the barbarians. They had a whole horde of barbarians, and I was like, well, my cold DM heart really didn't want them to have all these barbarians running around, because it's a pain in the ass to run a million NPCs. It's a pain in the ass to rebalance everything. But a player pointed out, like, you know what? I made the check. I persuaded these guys. I did a good job role playing. I should get this barbarian horde. It's like, okay. And as it worked out, like, they were way squishier than I thought they were, and they just happened to get killed in the course of exploring the dungeon. And the dungeons are dangerous, and they're NPCs. They're not PCs. They're not making like the best decisions every time, and they just don't have the skills and the hit points to survive. So we whittled them down. So now they've got the leader of that little barbarian tribe with them. So this is a room with I think about 8 ghasts. Ghasts are really fun. They're and ghouls as well. It's nice that I think they have turn resistance, ghasts do, and they give turn resistance to all the other undead. So there's only ghasts in this room, so that really didn't come into play, but that was nice. The stench, I may have misplayed that. I'm not sure if ghasts still have a stench that causes people to be poisoned. I think we did something with that. I think they made some saves and just made them. There was definitely some ghoul paralysis, which was awesome, because the save DC on ghoul paralysis in 5th edition is super easy, which I kind of like, because ghouls and ghasts are typically a low level foe, but it is nice to have that that out there. When it does happen, it's nasty when they can hit you after that. I don't think anybody actually got hit after they were paralyzed, but paralyzing a character is terrifying for that player, and that's great, because this is Ravenloft. That's what it's supposed to be about. Overall, though, the combat wasn't too challenging for them. I think it was just right in the sweet spot. It let them feel really good about things. Even the player who has notoriously bad dice rolls got some good hits in. And they're very careful not to use fire around Vasilica, because she's terrified of fire. They don't want her to go nuts and just start running away in fear or destroying things, just Hulk smashing. The cleric did, I think he gave some blessings to some characters, which was great. Helped them with their saves. There was some divine smiting going on, and they were able to annihilate a couple of the ghouls that way, ghasts that way. And they did turn undead. It always boggles my mind why the first line of defense for clerics in almost all of my games, when they're confronted with undead, isn't to just turn undead and see what will happen, and just try to get the numbers down, if not just overcome the encounter completely. I'm not sure why that is. I may need to call that out for my players in all my groups a little more and be like, hey, this is a thing you can do, and you know that you can do it. You should probably do it often, but I don't want to tell people how to run their characters either. And I don't want them to, if they're having fun doing the combat and they feel like that's a cheat, that's fair as well. But he did turn undead, so we had 2 ghasts that were kind of cowering in the corners of the room behind the amber sarcophagi while the rest of the players were dispatching them. It wasn't too bad of a combat for them at all, and they deserve that. I mean, they've been playing this game for 3 years. They deserve a couple of just walkthrough combats, because as they initially started just rolling through everything because of their party size and just good play, I needed to up the ante, and I've done that way too much on the other side of things. I had their encounter on Yesterhill, I think I doubled the number and max hit points for all of the barbarians and druids that were there, and it was almost a complete slaughter even before Winter Splinter appeared. You know, it was just, I was trying to overcompensate for things beforehand instead of just trying to roll with things during the session. I try not to make that mistake again. So things I do now, I kind of fudge monster hit points. You know, if I need the encounter to go a little longer, if I need it to make it a little more exciting, and make it worth having, you know, kind of gone into combat mode, I'll give them a few more hit points. More likely, I kind of, I always have the players track the hit points rather than me, or at least I was when we were in person, and they can just tell me how many hit points a monster has lost. That way I can decide, okay, that guy's had enough. That's a particularly weak goblin, or that's a particularly strong goblin, and it's entirely plausible. They get an idea for the ballpark about what the hit points are. Typically, if somebody does a cool attack against a monster and it brings the monster between down to about 1 or 2 hit points, I'll probably just wave it and say, okay, that kills that guy. So I'm pretty rules light in that department. I want it to be more dramatic. It's not as much fun for me, and I don't think it's much fun for the players if somebody does a whole ton of damage to a particular monster but doesn't kill it. That monster has 1 hit point left, and then somebody comes over and just kind of bink, flicks him on the nose and kills him. It's a little anticlimactic. I mean, it can certainly be fun. I do that once in a while, but I think for the most part, it's just better to kind of make it play out more theatrically, cinematically. So they went in the gas, and this is where you know, we had it was a great little combat. Got some excitement, got some blood pumping, and then they're in this room with these amber sarcophagi, and they're all remembering the last time they were in this room, which was the time that made Urso the paladin go a little bit crazy. I think it was bad leave was what he kept saying. Bad leave, bad leave. I think he went completely unconscious and catatonic. It was really neat to see him roleplay this as well, because he has been really working on trying to roleplay this character for a while. So he refrained that little chorus of bad leave as he was looking throughout this room and seeing these. What I also wanted to play up this time was the nature of the gifts of the dark powers. So there were 3 characters that I had established hooks into. Some were stronger than others. The main ones I was focusing on for this were the cleric, and he has lycanthropy. He's a werewolf. I did miss out on some chances. I do try to make him roll a charisma check, I think, every time there's a combat, because that sense of violence and bloodlust gets him going to see if he'll change, and he plays that really well when he changes. He doesn't pull any punches. He just starts, you know, wolfing out and attacking people, and he plays it as if he's not in control of it. So I let him have control of that. But I didn't do that this time. But I am trying to play up he is conflicted. Like, does he want the gift of being a werewolf? Does he want the advantages? I give him resistance to all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing weapons that aren't magical for that. And I think I upped his strength a little bit. And he can change into a wolf. But he doesn't really have complete control over this gift yet. He hasn't completely taken over. I don't think he's actually killed someone as a wolf yet, which I try to stress is that's your turning point. That's your Lost Boys. Once you kill somebody as a vampire, you're a vampire forever. Once you kill somebody as a werewolf, once you have that taste of sentient blood and flesh, then you're not going back, at least not as easily. And I don't make it easy either. I don't play that lycanthropy can just be cured with I think it's remove curse or something like that, or greater restoration. I don't play with that. I'll play with that spell can work, but I'll play that it needs some kind of a sacrifice and ritual. There are things that need to be done about it, because this is Ravenloft. This is Gothic horror. This isn't just your standard D&D. Oh, well, this is, low fantasy, everybody's got magic, we can buy a cure in this corner. No, I make it a little more difficult, and they haven't really looked into that. what it is. They've seen different NPCs in different locations. They've heard rumors about who might have information. They talked to Van Richten. Van Richten did some blood tests. They talked to the abbot. They immediately realized that the abbot was not a person they wanted to deal with on any level, especially after seeing and meeting Vasilka. So anyway, so the dark powers, the evil vestiges in the Amber Sarcophagi are promising gifts, and they're promising them to the cleric. They're telling him that they can make him whole again, they can make him pure again. He doesn't want anything to do with it. I think he was tempted for like a second, just to listen to it, but he was so freaked out after the last encounter with these amber rooms that he didn't want any part of it. I tempted Urso. Urso is a paladin who was kind of forming his own religion after having left one kind of a fundamentalist Inquisition style cult in our homebrew campaign. He's kind of forging his own religion, which is a combination of some others. So I promised him that he would find a path to truth, and he would find the answers that he was looking for. He wasn't having it. He didn't want any part of that. Vasilka, however, and I had spoken with her player before the game, because and even initially I had this in mind for her. I was giving the player an NPC to play, and I wanted to give her a character that was interesting, but also had a personal connection to her. And so when I did that, my thought was, and I ran this by her, is that her arc might be including a path to become a real boy, Geppetto. And that it was kind of a Frankenstein's monster Pinocchio arc. And so I talked to her about that before the session, and she said, well, you have to give me a chance to do that. And I was like, oh, I've got this set up. I do not worry about that. And here it paid off. I gave her the little slivers of dark secrets going into her mind, and she bit. She tried to go for it. And this made for a great role-playing segment, because she was reaching out towards the amber sarcophagus. Meanwhile, at least two of the characters were trying to grab onto her and stop her from doing that. So I had them roll a grapple check. What I had forgotten was that another character had decided to ready an action at Firebolt for if anything moved out of the amber sarcophagus. Now remember, fire triggers Vasilka to go crazy or frightened, or however she really wants to roleplay it. I told her, like, look, I'm giving you this super character, this Hulk, in the middle of the rest of your, minor Avengers here. You need to play up that there's a downside to this. And she was like, okay, I can totally do that. And so the characters rolled a grapple check. I let the PCs that were trying to stop Vasilka roll with advantage, because there were more than one of them. And everybody rolled. And the characters that were trying to stop her rolled a 1. Natural 1. And I was like, wow, like this is pretty amazing. And then Vasilka rolled a natural 1. So that's a 1 in 400 chance that happens. And I was remarking at the odds on that and trying to figure out, how do I play this with as much drama possible and respecting both of those die rolls. So what I had happen was she slipped through their fingers and twirled and lost her footing as they were kind of falling on the ground, trying to stop her from going. And then she, as she trips over her own feet, kind of to break her fall, puts her hands straight on the amber sarcophagus. And then the real deal happens. We can make you whole. We can make you... I did better voices than this, but we can make you whole, you probably can't hear that on my mic though, but, and she just went for it, and the other players were just stunned. And she went for it, and so tendrils of black energy, kind of like the black oil from X-Files mixed with some black electricity, encompasses her body. All of her stitching and scars go away. Her body looks whole, and I told her to roll up a new character. To get a complete new set of stats, because I wanted her to change over from using the NPC stats of Vasilka and start becoming a regular character that can advance. Kind of like I was kind of likening this to like in Terminator 2, when they have to tweak the little thing. If you've seen the extended version, they have to tweak something in the back of his head so we can start to learn, or something like Data, or Ex Machina. All of those things, those are all my touchstones for Basilica, even when I was running her myself as an NPC, is that she wants to learn, she wants to grow. What I whispered to her, though, and that if any of my players are watching this, they're going to find out, was that her new character, number one, is going to be mostly Barbarian with possibly a level or two of Warlock. I let her choose what that's going to be, but I thought that was kind of in character with how she's been playing the character, but also to give her kind of a dark gift aspect to it. But what I whispered to her was, your character is now Chaotic Evil. You are a petulant child who does not understand consequences, who does not understand your way around the world, and that's her new arc, is figuring out, can she survive as a Chaotic Evil character? How does that relate to the other characters? And so I'll work with her a little bit on that to just to make sure it doesn't implode the group. I don't think it will. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play, and it's going to get a lot of hooks going on, because I don't believe she's actually even met Strahd yet, and we all know Strahd. He loves to kind of play people against each other. He loves to offer people things in exchange for working against their own groups. Maybe he's being honest. Maybe he's not. You never really know. I think that's going to be a great new source of tension in the party, and I think it's going to be another a side driving force that can lead them to explore other aspects. After that, let's see. I mean, that was the big dramatic portion. I couldn't have been happier with how that worked out. And it was also a really nice role-playing moment for her when everybody was like, why did you do that? And she turned to them and said, I want to be real. And Peyton, the ranger, was like, well, we've been trying to tell you are real, but it wasn't enough for her. And I thought that was really, really cool. After that, it was kind of a little bit of a denouement. After that, they went back upstairs. They tried to, they were like, look, like what are we here for? And I gave them a little bit here because we haven't played in 8 months, and this has been a long running campaign. So it's been, forever since Madame Ava. It's been forever even since Van Richten to kind of explain the Madame Ava readings. So I gave them a little bit of like, look, you're here to get a holy icon, the cleric character that was their card that they got in the reading. It's somewhere in here. I didn't go through the whole reading or anything, but what they kind of glommed onto that pretty quick, and then they were like, okay, I think there was, and I was very impressed that they remembered some of the layout of the map. Even with the dynamic lighting, they couldn't see all the rooms, but they're like, I think there was another room off the main chamber. Oh crap, it's the main chamber, but I think that's where we need to go. So they did a great little bit where one of the characters did a jump from one platform to another, and the platform crumbled out from underneath him. And so he ended up grabbing onto it, and then I think he hit the floor. Maybe he didn't hit the floor. He ended up grabbing onto the platform and hoisting himself up, or casting a spell to get himself back up. And then he had a rope with him, and then the characters are trying to hand over hand or pull themselves over. But I'm looking in the module. I'm like, oh, this platform can only hold 250 pounds. So the second character hops on there. Boom. So basically they were on this platform. There's a door on the side of it. The whole platform collapses, and now they're all on the bottom in the room they really don't want to be in, looking up at the door they think they want to go through. And that's where we called it. I can't remember. Maybe they used, I think they used Mage Hand at the end to try to open that door so they can try to get away in. But that's it. So that's where we left off. It was really cool. Music I used for this. People like hearing about music. So I used primarily the Riven soundtrack when they're just exploring, but I also, for the Ember Temple, I really like the Passion soundtrack from Last Temptation of Christ. It's amazing. So Peter Gabriel, it's a lot of like Middle Eastern and African style music. I'm forgetting the word there. But it works really well. It's got kind of a, for us as Westerners, it sounds different and weird. We can't understand the words, most of us, so it kind of gives us that just sense of strangeness. So I really like that a lot. I think that worked really well. That's all I have for this one. I'd love to go back and give you guys some highlights if anybody's interested in that, on how they got to this point, like a little record skip, like, well, I suppose you wonder how I got here. If you're interested in that, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, or in addition to, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, sign the book, snuff the candle. You can find me at Slight Misplay on Twitter. I do have a Patreon and a Ko-Fi, if you don't, or Coffee, or however we're pronouncing it these days. If you'd like to help me make more of these and make them much, much better. And please let me know what else you might like to see. I've got a couple more session reports coming up, because I've been running a lot of D&D, and I'd love to share this all with you guys. So I'll get those up as soon as possible. In the meantime, wear a mask, stay at home, vote, and onward.